Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Data Talks with Lauren. This is a show where we talk about emerging trends in the data world to enable people to stay informed. Now, October is Cybersecurity Month, and I'm delighted to have an episode which is dedicated to talk about data security. In today's episode, we are going to learn about some of the terminologies that are commonly used in regards to security of data. We're going to learn about loopholes that might occur in regards to data breaches and some of the impacts that this might cause to individuals or organizations. We'll also learn about security controls that can be applied by individuals or organizations in regards to data security. With me today is one of the best in the industry in terms of data security, a lady who has been recognized in top 50 women in Africa in cybersecurity. So at this point, I'd like to invite her to introduce herself. Karibu.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you for having me here today, and I'm happy to have this discussion during the Cybersecurity Month. And looking forward to the discussion.
All right.
So, I think you've done a very good job in introducing myself. But I'm Joylene Kirui.
Yes.
I work at Microsoft as a senior cloud security advocate.
Yeah.
So I've been in the cybersecurity space for some time, I think almost 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to the hopeful discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jolene, for creating time for this. Just to get started, you could help us define some of the terminologies that are commonly used in regards to security of data. Like we hear about cybersecurity, we hear about cyberbullying, and etc. Anything that you feel like people should know about.
Okay, so maybe you can just start with the general definition of like cybersecurity, because so data protection, everything, the data security is all within cybersecurity. So like for cybersecurity, it's the art of protecting devices, data, networks from unauthorized access, and also from misuse or use that is not authorized.
Yes. And
also ensuring that you have confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your information. And now when you're talking about data security or information security, we're looking at safeguarding your digital assets. So by that, I mean your digital information throughout your life cycle of your data usage. So in order to protect it from theft, unauthorized access, and also like corruption of the data as well.
All right. Thank you so much. And you've already highlighted the CIA triad, which is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. So that's an important dimension, basically, in terms of grouping data into those three segments. So moving on into aspects like data breaching, which is something that occurred to even Naivas Supermarket recently. What will you say are some of the loopholes that can occur to individuals or a company when it comes to data breaching? And then we can move on maybe to kind of data, like for example, personal data, my ID, my phone number, my patient information, such information are targets of data breaching. Could we highlight some of the other aspects of that?
Oh, sure. So first of all, I just have to highlight that nothing is usually 100% secure. So if a hacker wants to compromise you, it just depends on the amount of time that they dedicate to compromise your system and to get that data. So yes, some of the loopholes that they can use. This one is very key. Like we've seen people using very weak credentials. So these we're talking about passwords. So not only also for your applications, but also for systems that you're accessing, for all the systems that you're actually setting up. So people are still using weak credentials. So here we talk about having like complex credentials, where you have like characters, numbers, very lengthy number of characters as well. So at least it's very hard for them to compromise your password through like brute forcing.
Yes.
And here we also look at how you can be able to enforce multi-factor authentication. So for anything that you have to make sure that you have multi-factor authentication, even for your social media accounts. So for like the likes of Facebook, X, Instagram.
Yeah.
Make sure you have multi-factor authentication. That's if you care about your data. And also, like on the topic of social media, like also make sure that you don't expose too much information about yourself.
Yeah.
You've seen scenarios whereby a whole person has been like their whole identity has been stolen and replicated just because they've exposed too much information online. So that's why we're talking about like your date of birth, your residency, your mother's maiden name, your bank account details. Like you say, there's just too much information online.
Yes.
So just limit what you are putting out there.
Right.
So apart from credentials, we're also seeing like malware. Malware, we talk about like viruses, trojans, all kinds of malware that are used to compromise your systems as well.
Yeah.
So one key thing that I've seen, especially like around, people don't like to pay money for actual commercial products, like say to download movies. So I know very many people who download cracked software just because they don't want to pay for it. But behind that cracked software, there's probably like a mark that has been embedded. So have you ever seen like maybe you've installed something, then you see like a Windows prompt coming up, like there's something happening on the background. So you have to be very cautious of what you are installing within your systems, within your devices, within your phones as well, and also the kind of sites that you are accessing, because you should see you're probably accessing a site and then you see very many ads. Yeah, for sure. So also through those ads, and then when you click, like it embeds like some malware, some virus within your phone as well. Make sure you're using also legit sites as well. So other loopholes that can be used are like insider threats. Insider threat is very huge. You have many disgruntled employees. I've seen big companies as well in Kenya where data has been stolen, but the people who stole the data are insiders. Yeah, the employees, and then now they sell the data or they do whatever they want with that data. So yes, the threat is quite big. We also have improper configurations. So so even like for developers, system admins, anyone who's like maintaining your systems, we see a lot of misconfiguration. So when you've misconfigured a system, so let's give an example, like even having like a port, like port 22 publicly accessible from the internet. So that one is 46H. So you can see such a way, and then maybe you also configured like insecure credentials to access that port. So someone can be able to compromise your system or even gain access to you. Maybe it's a virtual machine through those misconfigurations. Other things as well, like backdoors. We also see backdoors, like also like application vulnerabilities. So if you have not put in the time to secure your applications, we have something called the OWASP Top 10 vulnerabilities. So this one is usually reviewed every 4 years. And the OWASP Top 10 vulnerabilities usually shows the trend of the vulnerabilities that have been used to compromise applications in the last like period of time. So they update this every so often. So some of these are like SQL injection, cross-site scripting that can be used to compromise your applications. We also have like backdoors as well. So there's some systems, if you're not careful, they have like backdoors embedded, or even they've compromised the application, they've installed like a backdoor, and they've cleared that track to make sure that they don't know that they've compromised, so they always know what's happening. Even like scary things, there's a lot that can happen. It's all real. Like there's a lot of loopholes. So I actually say this. So for us, we have to be lucky throughout. But for a hacker, they have to be lucky only once. So they can use any of those loopholes to compromise your system. So you have to put a lot of emphasis and controls to make sure that your assets are secure. Because you never know what vector can be used to compromise your system.
That's true. And actually, just speaking of measures, some of them that could be used by companies are authentication and authorization. What other measures do you advise people to take precautions using?
So it depends on the kind of assets that you have across your organization. So you have to do something called threat modeling. So by threat modeling, you are trying to emulate, okay, so what can a hacker try to access your systems? So this one comes in the initial stages, where you want to see what vector can be used. So let's say if I have like an API and the API endpoint is public facing. So what should I do to protect that API endpoint? So yes, so you have to have an inventory of all your systems and applications, because if you don't know what you have, how can you protect them?
You can't protect it. That's so true.
Exactly. So even for applications, you have to have an inventory of your applications. So this is what we usually call SBOM. Yes, so an SBOM at least gives you a bill of materials of all the inventory of within your application.
Yes.
When you're talking about the applications, there's usually 3 components. Like we look at for security for your systems and applications. So there's one thing that we look at: dependencies. So dependencies, most of the systems that are actually developed by developers are borrowed code. So you borrow dependencies, you borrow third-party components and open source components as well. So you have to know what components you've borrowed in, because they also bring in vulnerabilities. You have to know which ones are vulnerable, when to update them as well.
That's true.
So yes, so there's usually a lot that you have to do to set up your applications and your systems to be secure. Yes, so you have to do threat modeling.
Yes.
You have to put, yes, as you mentioned, authentication and authorization.
Yes.
You have to have access control as well to make sure that the right people have access to what they should access.
Yes.
You also have to have encryption as well to make sure that even if someone tries to intercept like data that's maybe on transit, they wouldn't be able to read that data. If someone accesses data that is at rest, like within your database, it should be encrypted, so that they don't know what's actually happening. Like even in scenarios whereby you have to share like data with maybe third parties, you also probably have to do like data masking in some components, just to make sure that you're not sharing too much data to third parties.
And also the use of VPN, virtual private networks.
You're looking at VPNs, yes. So yes,
for third party,
that's also quite big. So VPNs as well, because you don't know who is trying to access. So it's good to have like a private network of some sort to browse some sites, to do some things as well. So there's usually a lot, and also some of them also having like endpoint security, like having a basic like antivirus within your machine to make sure that if there's any virus or anything, like it's caught. And some antiviruses also are very intellectual, like if there are any new vulnerabilities or new viruses or whatnot, like they keep that up to date. So they pick the updates, they pick the signatures, they check against that viruses within your endpoint to make sure that you're secure. So yes, there's a lot that has to happen in terms of controls. But that one you can only know if you know your assets inventory. You've done threat modeling to know which vectors can be used to compromise, and you do security in-depth. So by security in-depth, you're putting layers and layers of security controls to make it very hard for attackers to compromise your system.
That's well noted, and it's a very good thing. You've also mentioned antivirus, which is like a basic level for anyone with a machine. What will you say are like some of the maybe 2 or even 1 antivirus that you will recommend everyone should be having?
It depends. So Microsoft has one. So we have Microsoft for Endpoint here, which you can use. like, also like Windows Defender that you can be able to use. There are several others as well, like Kaspersky, that is very, very good as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, speaking of awareness, because our conversation mostly is drilling down to people need to be aware of, number one, their assets, their employees, the controls and everything. So speaking of awareness, do you think organizations or even individuals are more aware of what they should know about security of data or even just cybersecurity? And if not, what are some of the measures that people should take?
So the truth, we're not yet there. Many organizations still don't have like cybersecurity enforced within their organizations.
Yes.
Some of them probably don't see it as important.
Yes.
So that's why we have to go in and advocate for them to, even if it's using these systems for doing security in depth.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, we mentioned earlier an example of one of the data breaches that happened for Naivas. See, this can actually happen. It's not only Naivas, like even other big companies.
Yes, banks, hospitals
as well.
Yes.
Hospitals, yes, all the organizations, like many of them actually, they have not enforced security controls.
Yes.
And so I know, like in the US, especially like for health institutions, like they have regulations like HIPAA regulations, which enforce like your health regulations. So Kenya, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of data protection.
Yeah.
At least like we have a data protection committee and commission that's set up.
Yeah.
And they've been finding organizations and companies that have had data breaches.
Yes.
So if it depends also, like some companies that are they use like the airwaves, they are also regulated like by the Communication Authority. So in whereby they are compromised, they also have to pay fines like to the CA.
Yeah.
And some that are also regulated like by CBK, they also get some form of fines as well in that regard.
Yes.
So yes. Apart from fines, we still have to do a lot more in terms of making sure that these organizations have put in security measures.
Yeah.
And they know why it's very important. It's not a by the way. Security should be a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. Okay. So mostly it drills down to education, people being aware of this these different measures and different aspects of security. Like for example, in this forum, I've actually learned a lot more than what I thought I know. So it's good. Education is key for everyone, and training actually, yeah.
By the way, security is everyone's responsibility.
Right.
So yes, education is quite key. Even my grandmother should know some big forms of security. How not to share their M-Pesa PIN with government,
Yes.
Of what not to share to other people.
Yeah.
Yes, so yes, education security awareness is very important. That's why, like even during this month of cybersecurity awareness month, is quite important. You'll see many people sharing some advices on how you can be able to deploy security controls throughout the month. So yes, and yes, also companies should have security policies in place. Every company should have that in place. Like by security policies, you're talking about like even policies like minimum password complexity.
True. Yeah.
What happens in terms of when a breach should occur. Like some of this should be within your policies, and also you should need to train your employees that you have this policy in place and what they need, and you need to train them every so often.
Yeah. Okay, good. So speaking of which, Microsoft has the cloud for sovereignty that they use to protect like sensitive information, right? Will you talk about, since you work with them, with Microsoft, will you talk about any other services that are available in regards to security controls within Microsoft?
Yeah, okay. So one product that I really know and I use, especially for data protection, is Microsoft Purview. So Microsoft Purview has several aspects. So it has like for audit, for compliance, and it also does like a data map and the data catalog of all the data that you have on cloud.
Yes.
You can also be able to discover all your data aspects. You can also have information protection because they do identify, classify, and protect the sensitive data for your crucial business needs as well.
Okay.
So yes, Microsoft Purview, I'll share a link with you so you can share with the audience so they can see what else they can be able to do with Microsoft Purview.
Okay, thank you for that. As we conclude, there is one basic step that everyone should probably take advantage of, which is the software development cycle, and that can be applied in different scenarios. For example, the one that has been put out there by Microsoft is in terms of identifying the requirements, defining what you need to do. There are a couple of steps, right? Will you briefly just talk about this as we conclude so that people can know, even after hearing this conversation, what's next for me? Yeah.
Right, so this one is mainly for developers because you're talking about software development life cycle.
Yes.
So yes, Microsoft came up with 9 practices for SDL. And yes, I'll share also a link with you for that. At least it shows you an end-to-end of what you need to be able to do throughout your software development life cycle. That includes like requirements gathering, what you need to be able to do there, like even for threat modeling, all the way to when you have your application in production, where you have monitoring, because there you have to make sure that you have active measures in place to detect any anomaly within or when someone is trying to attack your application, and the response that you need to do within your incident response plan to handle a particular attack that is happening. Okay. So yes, I'll share a link as well for the Microsoft SDL. It's very important for all developers to know that they are actually, for me, I say the developers are our first line of defense because having worked with developers, they know when they are actually using insecure code. They know when they're not using like best practices. In some aspects, they say, oh, this one will take a long time to do or to fix. So yes, they need to be trained as well every so often on secure coding. Because once you do that, at least you'll be minimizing the amount of money or even fines or even reputation damage that happens when the application goes to production.
That's true. Okay, any other thing that you feel like people should know?
I think I've mentioned
covered a lot,
I'll just repeat, like security is everyone's responsibility. Just don't say that my data is not important because you see, when I collect Lorraine's data and then I collect someone else's data, you see, I'm collecting a lot of data. I can do a lot with that data. Okay, so just don't say that my data is not important. Like I can put it out there.
True. And
aggregation of all that data is something with gold. So you have to be very cautious of what you put out there. You have to be. Another key aspect is that I should have mentioned is data classification. You have to know which data is really important, and the more important the data is, the more stringent controls you put on that data to make sure it's not compromised. So yes, be careful what you put out there. Know that your data is important. It's not something small. Read about some of the attacks that are also happening. Be creators as well, like how you can be compromised. Yes, actually, the whole of cybersecurity just boils down to data because all these controls that you put in place is around data.
True.
Even if you're talking about it's all information, all data.
Yes. All right. I think that will be it from my end. Thank you so much for creating time for this. I can't wait for this to air because people really need to know all this information that you've shared, right? So thank you so much. Yeah.
They can also, I also share some nuggets as well, like online, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So they can find me on, oh, sorry, I said Twitter, nowadays it's X.
It's X, yeah.
Yeah, they can find me on X at Jolene_Kirui, and on LinkedIn with my name, Jolene Kirui. And sometimes we hold trainings as well for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
It's good just to plug in and learn for free. We offer trainings for free. We don't charge anything.
Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you so much for that. And thank you really. Guys, make sure you follow Jolene, because I mean, she has nuggets for days. That's why she's here on this show to share with us. So thanks so much. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Lorraine, for having me. Have a great one.
All right, bye.
Bye.